Yeah. Give me a second. I have some question. Wait a second. Sorry for that. Yep. Okay. So actually, yeah. So our expected result is if the wheel size larger or equal than 21, then you print I like it. Otherwise, which is less than 21, you print they are ugly. So let's do this then. Clear. And let me clear and close this. Clear. Close. Yeah, and let me open this. So first of all, so who's this homework? This is Elvira. So Elvira, I use 20 and I should expect they are ugly, and 21, I should see I like it, but it's works vice versa. Does anybody see the problem here?
Less than
yes, equal. It should be more than 20. Not
larger.
Less than equal, more than equal.
Than 21. Yeah, so this is how it should be, but it was incorrect. It was showing that less than equal than 20. Actually, this could work if you put like this. If you actually put this,
Switch places.
And then replace it, I like it over here, it will work vice versa, but it will check, actually the check will work for less than 20 and will say that they are ugly. But if it's more, it will show that I like it. So now if I run it for 21, it will be I like it. For 20, it will be they are ugly.
I understand now. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is actually what was the problem. Is that was the only problem with these homeworks. So let me actually mark this as done now.
Thank you.
And add you to the homework. So let me see Elvira over here. Okay. Okay, so who's the next one? Ksenia. Ksenia. Oh, Titova and Loskutova. Okay, got it. So somebody, yeah, okay. Okay, so here, the homework is clear, is done. Yeah, again, since you're using H3, it adds additional spacing below, but it's fine. It is fine. The text input, you added margin top and margin bottom, which is correct. We have some spacings over here, which is correct. Let's test this one again. I need 21, and I expect I like it. And if you take 20, I expect they are ugly, but it's vice versa. And the problem is the same, as you can see, right?
Yeah, I understand my mistake. Thank you.
So Ksenia, you're there, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, let me make this a little bigger. Yeah, so this is actually what the problem is, and this is the only problem that you have. Okay, so let me then again mark this and mark your homework is done. Got it. Then we scroll down, look on arts. And please, guys, use your real name or at least close to real names. So I can then find you in the chat if I need to find you. For example, sometimes I need to just find you and message you, right? And especially if I know your name, and then I'm not able because you're using some nicknames or something like that. So at least use something that I can distinguish you from other people. It's better to use your at least names, maybe shortened names, or maybe if you have a long name, for example, Anastasia, you can say Nastya. It's fine, but use your first name and last name. Why? Because I may have like many Vladimirs, I may have many other people, like, for example, I have Stanislav, right? But I have already a lot of Stanislavs. So sometimes when I need to find the Stanislav I need to like send a message to 10 other people. So please use your last name as well. Just click on your link and then profile and rename yourself to use your first name as well and last name at least partially, so I can distinguish you from other people. That would help me a lot. Okay, so let's open this one. So what do we have here? So the problem here, you have margin top over here. You don't have margin bottom. As you can see, there is no spacing. This guy works. As you can see, I can run it from 21 and for 20, and I'm getting expected results, which is okay, but you don't have a spacing over here. Are you there? And what is your name? Lucan Arts. Are you there? Is that a person here?
Yeah, that's me. That's just my account name. That's what it is. So actually, the funny story is I saw the problem and solved it, but for some reason it didn't save it. So somehow
Yeah,
I
so
send you the old version of it.
Right now, tell me what to do to have a spacing over here. So what I can do and to fix it right now.
So we need to put to go to the text input where you see the margin top, and we need to put the margin bottom 10px, and that's it. That will solve the problem.
Bottom.
Yep.
Yeah, it solves the problem. But again, my ask would be for everybody, try to style it properly, like so to have it beautiful, not having like this. You're trying to, as you can see, you just did like you moved this line to the bottom, so you did a line break, but this then was incorrectly styled by GSBean because it didn't understand what you did. So if you actually did that correctly, so you put it at one style in one line, you click enter, it will put color in the right line, not over here. Because as you can see, it put border radius over here because it didn't understand why white is here. So please style it like this, and it will be correctly styled then, as you can see.
Yeah, I just didn't know the correct way to do it. So
yeah, you could base on what we had on during the lesson, even what you see on the screen, or you could actually open the video. If you're not sure, just open the video, like fast forward to the place where we're talking about that, and you can just see how I did it, right? Okay, so I accept this as well. Okay, so good. Oh man, this Zoom thing drives me nuts. Okay, I'll move it to the other screen. Okay, homeworks, and boom. Good. Who else? Elena. Let's see, what do you have? So Elena, you have some problems over here. First of all, the problem is these items are not centered. So the JavaScript part is correct. So what I had problems with is HTML and CSS. So they are not centered, although you have style for it, but why they are not centered and why there is no spacing on the top and below the input field. Elena, are you there? Are you here with us? No, I don't see Elena actually. So let me then skip this and I will reach out to her separately. As you can see, but okay, so who can see the problem on the screen right now? Why they are not applied? Do you see the problem? Why actually it's not centered, first of all? Anybody?
I believe I see the problem.
Okay, so what is the problem in your opinion?
The class name is items middle, and she put the text center or something like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep.
Right with this. Items middle, and items middle. Okay, so we got this. Okay, how about the input field that doesn't have the padding? Yeah, margin top and margin bottom. Why is that?
Because she put margin middle. She didn't put top and bottom.
Yeah, she created a class over here, but why it's not used? Why
Wrong
we don't?
name of text input.
Okay, so I need to do what?
To change the name of class,
Where?
In HTML.
input ID.
Yeah, she used ID actually, but she didn't create any class for ID. So for ID, it should be like this, right? And again, she called that name input, but here she created a class text input. So actually, if you name it properly, because this and this should match. This is how it works. This is how HTML knows what to use from CSS. And once you put the correct class name over here, it will work. So actually here, but we will leave it to Alina. I will just say, and JavaScript part is fine. Okay, so we have done with Alina. Let's leave that work for her. Who else? So Zhena. Okay, same with you, right? So oh man, did I close it? This is here. Okay, so actually will size here, it's run with JavaScript and 20. They're ugly. So actually everything is correct. Yes, the homework is correct. Oh no, not correct. The button is not styled correctly. So let's read it. So the button primary style should be there to create a primary button. And background color should be blue, color white, and border radius 5. So let's open. I don't see the style for the button at all.
Yeah, I did it at first, but then I was training and I didn't realize that it's not going to be another link. It was created new link when I was training the game.
Okay, so you did a new link, this one, right? Let's see. Yeah, now it works. Okay, so I accept this. Let me then put to where are you over here? Let me then accept this homework. This guy and this guy as well. Okay, Asha, here's your homework. Okay, so in your case, it works here, correct? Oh, did you fix it? I believe that this guy was not working fine. 20. They are ugly. And 21. I like it. Okay, so I believe something was missing. Right now it's done, so I'm just accepting this from you. Got it. And where are you? Over here. Okay, who else left? Slava. Okay, so here it is. It is. Here it is.
Arthur, I sent the last link and I fixed this problem.
Okay.
Right.
So this is the new link. Let me add 21. I like it. And if you have 20,
No.
no, you didn't fix it. But again,
Yeah, I didn't fix it.
Larger, more.
Yeah, it should be larger. Yeah.
like this. Oh man, like this. And you can see that was a good example, right? So again, in any case, if you make a mistake, in any case, by testing only 2 test cases, this guy and this guy, I'm always catching the problem, always. In this case, I get 2, I like it, but in one case, I'm expecting they are ugly. That's why no matter which symbol you put here and make a mistake, with those 2 cases that you're testing on different on different boundaries, you will get that problem, you will catch that problem. So that's the logic behind that test design technique. So you just test on boundaries. You don't have to test a lot of test cases. You just, in this case, you have one boundary, which is 21, and you test 21, which is positive test case, and 20, which is negative test case. You get those 2 test cases, and that's it. You just need to draw or imagine in your head or draw that line, put a boundary and say 21, this value, 20, this value, and everything else in those 2 classes. And if you imagine, you just take those 2 test cases and that's it. So actually that's correct. It should be like this. Got it. So I accept this, Slava. And did you do the first homework as well?
Yes.
I didn't see you here.
So should I resend you?
Yegorov. I don't see.
Or
Okay,
probably I was like Vyacheslav said before. No.
no, I mean like the homework from K. Did you do the K homework or just JavaScript?
No. I did the first homework. I can
Yeah,
resend it again if you.
yeah, send it over there in that topic as well, so I can see you, because I don't see you right now here. You know what?
Okay.
Okay, so let's mark this again. Alex. So Alex, HTML and CSS, good, looks good. How about JavaScript? I again use two test cases, 21, and expect I like it. Then I use 20, and I expect they are ugly, but get I like it. Again, what is the problem?
Larger needs to be, should be
Larger. Alex,
more than.
Alex, I see you in the list. What do you think? What is your problem here?
So I thought the guy wants, I mean, he likes like size more than 21.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I have to create a let a will size equal 21. That means he's like expects that this number will show only he's expecting, but if so yeah, I made a mistake.
Yeah, so what matters here is this. So this may change. It's called variable, right? It's called variable. It can be variable, right? It can be 20, 21, 19, and so on. It may change. Usually variables, they are connected with the input fields on the website. So you enter some information in the input field, it gets assigned to the variable, and then you get some value in the variable. You never set the variable like manually, like we did in code, but we just simulate the case. When you get 20 in that variable, or 19 or 18 or so on. But what matters here, what won't change, what matters here, the statement is here, is if. Right?
Yeah,
so
I thought let will size it's going to be like a statement.
Yeah, so actually we are printing I like it. So which size Nathan likes?
More than 21 and 21.
21. So what should be here?
Yeah, 21. Now
So
I got it.
So what should I do to fix it?
Will size more than 20, more and equal 21.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, now you got it. Yeah, so 20, they are ugly, and 21, I like it.
So
yeah,
if else, it's a totally statement.
Yeah, so this is the statement, and this is what matters.
And
this is
let will size that is going to be like we can change it.
Yeah, it may change. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, and I see Mukan Anushka.
Yes, sorry. Hello, it's me. It's Anna Nikita. I have a bad connection, and I'm from my phone, and I lose moment with my homework, and just wanna ask you, it was okay or some problem with this one?
Yeah, your homework was approved. If you see the check mark, it means approved. I'm just checking the ones without the check mark.
Okay, any mistakes?
No, everything is fine. So you sent me 2 links. Could be 1 link, but the only thing that you did, you sent 2 links, one for CSS and HTML, the second one for JavaScript, but everything,
yes.
So I approved it right away.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome. So Alex, you're done as well. Got it. So who's left here? Andrei Drivnohod. We actually, not sure. Andrei, are you here? If not, I will just type a message because nothing is working here. As you can see, there is some mistake. What is the mistake? Over here. H1 was open. It was not closed. And was not closed like this. The tag itself was not closed. That's why the div there is no div opening tag and just div closing tag. That's why you got all of these problems.
Okay.
from here. Oh, Andre, you're there. So
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I'm not sure if this is like your initial work, because this is not done at all. So maybe what happens to people, they just create a the people just create a first version, they save it,
Okay.
and when they continue working, it's not
That-
saved.
That's what happened. I started to work, saved it, and I was trying to use save as a template, then save a snapshot. And that where I got the problem, because even JavaScript, I cannot find it. So complete the homework in few parts, and JavaScript, I'm still looking how to send it.
Yeah, so what you can do actually, you can, what I usually do, because that happens, if you save it once, it starts logging, it starts
Right.
showing your, so you just open new JS bin,
Okay.
just completely empty without the link, unique link that you have, then you just copy and paste your complete work from here,
Okay.
email here, and then save that snapshot again, and then you send a new link.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, Andre, I didn't see you completing the first QA lesson. Did you do that, or
Yes, I did, and I sent a link. So
today or when?
tell me. No, that was last lesson. I did it on time.
Yeah, so let me see.
Did you find it?
Pinned. Let me see. Pinned. So the first lesson was about test cases. So
That
what
was yeah,
oh,
the manual.
Yeah, the manual QA, and the first homework was test cases. So test cases are in here, and you can go to pinned.
Okay.
You can find the homework number 1, click on it. It will open this post, and you can go to thread. So in the thread, people were submitting their homework, and you are not in this list. So you just need to submit like people did, like you put the link to your test cases over here, so I can overview them.
Okay, I'll send it again, because first time I did, so I believe something went wrong. So I'll send it again.
Okay.
I'll use the same. I see the direction, so I'll do the same.
Okay.
Okay.
And let me then add you to the. So this is the coding homework.
Okay.
So approach. Let me just copy your name to the spreadsheet. Oh man, over here. And again, so as you can see, I put your name over here and the link because you posted here in main chat. Just send it over here into the thread. Open the message itself. Again, go to pinned, find the JavaScript coding lesson number 2.
Okay.
Go to thread and submit your homework over here in the thread.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Good. So let me open add it to this guy. Okay, so I'm waiting for 2 homeworks from you.
Okay.
Okay, Andre is here, and who's left? Nastasia. Okay, Nastasia, what was wrong over here? Okay, no spacing. There is no spacing. So this guy works. It's fine. No spacing. According to this homework, there should be spacing for the text input. There should be margin top and margin bottom, which will add spacing on the top of the field, and on the bottom of the field. Nastasia, are you here?
Yeah, I do.
So yeah, why that is not there, and what we can do to fix that?
Yeah, we can just do the okay, it's text input, margin top, 10px.
So tell me what to type in where.
On the bottom of the button, primary.
Do you have this guy actually? Do you have this homework on your computer?
Yeah.
Right now in front of you?
No, just a moment.
If you can open it and share your screen, that would be nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I did it before, but I'm not sure what.
Yeah, let's do that right now. If you do that right now, I will just accept your homework and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, just open JSBin in this place and just share your screen and then do that, and that's it. That's only thing that you need to do.
All right.
Close this. Okay. Do you know how to share the screen?
Yeah, just a moment. It said this. Okay. Oh, I cannot do that right now, but just a moment. All right. Oh, I'm just wasting your time, probably.
Okay, so then let me share my screen and you tell me what I need to do.
Okay, on the bottom of the button primary, we need to put dot. Just a moment. All right, text input. Yeah, margin tab.
Like this?
No, just open it like everything we did with button primary and the items.
Curly braces, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Okay, so let me just put curly braces.
Mm.
Margin tab, then what?
That's 10 pixels. Not 10 px.
Column 10px, semicolon, and then what's next?
Margin bottom. Yes, same size. And so it's according to the
And what should you do next?
text input. So we're going to HTML input plus input.
Over here?
Oh no, next to the input. Oh wait,
Here?
well no. All right.
Come on. Just tell me. We can do a mistake, then fix it. That's fine. That's how we usually code. So what should we do
equal
here?
To
like this, equal to
text input.
Text input like this.
Just a moment.
You can see my screen. You already have all the answers on.
Yeah,
on
I have an issue with my connection. Sorry, I don't have Wi-Fi. In quotes, just in quotes, we're gonna put in the quotes. Yeah, text input.
Okay, like this. Is this enough? What do you see here? The difference between what we just did.
We need to open it and close, but you say
open it and close, yeah. But I mean, what is the difference between this tag and this tag? Why this style applied?
Oh, we need to put class. My bad.
Yes, that's correct. This is how you connect actually your HTML and CSS. You say class and then class name, and this is how it works. Yeah, it worked.
I appreciate you.
Now everything is fine. Yeah, this is the only thing that you need to do. You had to add this additional class and apply it to the input field, and that's it. Okay, good. So let me then over here. Okay, and done. Got it. Okay, and seems like that's it. Seems like we're done with the homework. We're just waiting for Andre. He has to submit 2 homeworks. Who else? Elena. I didn't see your work if you're right now here on the lesson. I don't see Elena, but Elena, if you will be watching this, I still don't see your homework. Please send it. And Hannah as well. Not sure, guys, if you are interested in QA only, not JavaScript, I can accept your QA only, but then you will need to take QA only and no JavaScript to prove that you are not interested. If you're interested in learning JavaScript as well, I am expecting you to complete this homework as well. Angel didn't complete both homeworks. I believe that person submitted the first one, but it was not completed. I didn't have an access to the spreadsheet, and the second one I didn't see. So Slava didn't see the first homework, and Andre didn't see both. So just waiting for those homeworks. Other than that, we are doing very good. 24 people actually already did the homework in at least one way. So that's very good. Okay, awesome. Any questions before we start with the main topic for today?
Yes, one question, Arthur. Sergey Maximov homework.
Yeah.
Input placeholder, there's a text I put a type here. There's any way to shift the text in the middle of the input or no? Just curious.
Now the placeholder, it's provided by the styling provided by browser. The only thing that you provide is just the value, right?
So you cannot configure it to like put it in the middle or something.
Yeah, just to let everybody know what Sergey means. If you create an input, there is another way, like this. We can do that like this. Input, when you create an input, so input may have ID, right, as a property, as an attribute. It can have class, but there is a specific attribute for input. It's called placeholder. And equal, and then you provide a text here, and that text will be displayed here when the field is empty. For example, enter something here. As you can see, this text will be displayed here, right? And once you type, it disappears. This is standard browser functionality. So actually, as a programmer, but it's more a React course, you can actually display placeholder here. What you probably saw in our application in that we use for QA lessons. There is not a placeholder. It's like label displayed over the field. And when you start typing, label moves to the top. But that is not a placeholder. That's just a label that overlaps the field. So you can do that in another way, like we did in that application, when the label overlaps the field. But if you use placeholder, it's a standard design applied by browser itself. So Chrome or Firefox or Safari or another browser you're using applies this style automatically. The color of the text, the size of the text, everything applied automatically. What you just control is just the value by using placeholder, and that's it. This is how programmers control the placeholder, only the value. Everything else is added by browser. So if you want custom solution, you have to probably do another approach without a placeholder, but with having a text overlapping the field with specific behavior, how we did that application.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, welcome. Okay, we'll need this anyways. Okay, any other questions? No questions. Got it. So let's move to functions. So functions is the second topic that we will need to do the test automation lesson. And that's why today we will be learning the functions, their syntaxes, what is the function return, parameters and arguments, and how the functions work in general, because we will need them for the test automation. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, what is a function? Function is just a piece of code that does a specific operation. For example, you need to get customers' first name and last name and merge that together into the full name, right? So you need to have a specific function to do that, or you need a bigger function, a function that will get your age, maybe get your height, get your weight or something, and will calculate some index that you're using on your mobile phone. Maybe, I don't know, you have a mobile application that takes your age, takes your height, takes your weight, and calculate some health index, for example. And based on that health index, you see some information, right? So the function to do that, to calculate that index, will be a just specific piece of code that does something specific. For example, it will be called calculate index, right? And based on some information, it will be doing that. Then there will be a separate function doing something else. So the functions are just a piece of code that has a specific purpose, specific goal, and can be reused. So this is the main thing that you can reuse function for different kind of values. So it doesn't matter which kind of values do you have, function will do just the calculations. So this just specific code that does something specific. And we will start with something very simple. For example, with function that adds values, for example, a plus b or something like that. So first of all, how function declared. So you type the word function, and then you type the name of the function. And name of the function, it's same as a variable you created, and usually it's based on the purpose that function has. For example, this function will do this summarization. We will be summarizing, adding the values. So let's call it function sum. Then you put parentheses, and then you put curly braces. So actually, this is the syntax. It's very similar, as you can remember, to if. If you put if, the syntax is the same, and inside you have syntaxes, right? And between curly braces, you do some actions, right? In that case, we're printing something. In this case, we will do something else. So, but the difference is you don't say if, you say, but because if is predefined. This is how JavaScript works. So if is predefined function. It has a predefined name. It's called if, right? And then you can use it. In case if you create a custom function that you create to do specific purpose, to have specific purpose, to do something specific, you provide this name. But you have started with function and then the function name. You will understand later why we need this parenthesis, but we will get to it later. For now, you just need to understand that there is parentheses and curly braces, and everything that function does is between these two curly braces. Okay, so this is the function template, and this function can do something. For example, this function will print something. So let's do something like this. Let a equal to 5. Let b equal to 6, and let c, or result, let be res, equal to a plus b. So a plus b. So what I'm expecting to have in res, who can tell me?
11.
11. Okay, any other thoughts?
5 plus 6.
Excuse me, could you repeat that, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be 5 plus 6, the result of like addition.
Yes. What should be inside of res at the end?
So 12, I mean 11.
11. Okay. Any other thought?
Mm-hmm.
As this is function, it's probably going to be the a plus b.
No. Don't think about function. Think about just variables. Forget about this for now and for this. So what will be inside of the res?
Sum, maybe.
Yeah, that's correct. But what? The value, right? It should be at the end. It should be value. It should be a string or a number. It should be Boolean. It should be something.
A number.
Yeah. So what should be? It will be a number, but what number?
11.
No, in this case, in this specific case, because we have the values in A and B, we have the values. Okay, it will be 11. So people already answered that, but I wanted maybe to distract you a little bit and think something different, but it will be 11. It's pretty straightforward. You have, what is inside A?
5.
5. What is inside B?
6.
So you can replace this by 5 and this by 6. And what will be then in the rest?
The sum of 5 and 6, 11.
Yeah, it will be 11. So you can replace rest at the end with 11. So this is how it actually works. It will add this and put 11 into rest. So if I print it, print rest, and I will, I didn't run it. So actually how it works actually. As you can see, I run it, nothing happens. So I have a function. This function has one variable, the second variable. It has the result, which is a plus b, and it prints that result, but nothing happens when I run it. And here is the interesting thing about function. This is the function template. It just created to be used later. So you create the template, but when you need to actually use it, you have to call the function call the function by using its name and parentheses. So this is how you call the function, and this is when it will actually works. Because in this case, it will not work. In this case, it will work. This is the template for the function, and then you can run this function as many times as you want. Maybe you need to run this function 1,000 times. So actually you can run it as many times as you want. So function just has a specific purpose, and it's created just to reuse this functionality many times. For example, you have one function that, remember, that calculates that index on mobile phone, right? And you need to do that for like 1,000 of people. So you create a template that takes height, weight, your age, and calculates some index in a weird way. The index calculation depends on how scientists build that. Maybe they have multiply your height by weight and then divide that by your age and then multiply by some specific coefficient, right? I don't know, some specific number, right? And then you get that index. And then based on that index, they display something. So it actually, we don't have requirements for that, but let's just imagine that there are some calculations that that function does. So you need to run that function for me, you need to run that function for Sergey, for Elisei, for Vlad, for anybody else. So you need to run that function many times. So that's how you do. You create a template, just, hey, the template that calculates that index. And then you run it as many times as you want. So actually, if I run this right now, we will get result 5 times. As you can see, it called the function, it called this template once, second time, third time, fourth time, and fifth time. So this is how it works. You create a template and then you use it somewhere. And once we get more cases right now, you will understand what I mean. Okay, Yelisa, you have a question.
Yes, so the function name right now is sum, correct? That's the name of the function. So basically you can name, you can have multiple functions and have different names instead of sum, have maybe dividend instead of name, have some other name other than sum, and you can keep on summoning this function through the names. Yeah.
Actually, there can be, so the code is endless. You can have as many functions as you want. It really depends on the functionality that you're working on. For example, just imagine, I have my input fields on login form, right? I have my login form and I have username and password. So my login form will get the value and assign to some variable. My password field will get that value from the password field and assign to some variable. And then I will have a function authenticate that will take those 2 values, send them to the database, get a response. If the response, hey, the username and passwords are matching, then I will say, okay, it's authenticated, right? And I will either return something. We will get to return right now. I will return something saying that it's true. So the user is authenticated, but that will be described in a single function. The only goal of that function will be to authenticate the user, to get the values, send them to the server, get the response from the server and say, is user authenticated or not? So there will be specific function. Probably I will call it check authentication or something like that, right? It's up to me. But if I have some specific goal as a developer to create that function will be created with a specific name matching the function purpose usually, right?
Okay.
So if you would like to multiply something, you will call it multiply. If you would like to divide something, probably you will say division or something like that. So it's up to how you
so right now, the name of this function is sum, and what you highlighted right now, it's the name part. So that's where you give the function the name.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
In order to run that function, you have to use the name of the function and parentheses, because when you just use the name, it's a variable. But when you use this, it means that you're running a function with this name.
Okay.
So that's how, so this is the basics. This is the function template. And what you need to understand right now at this point, this is the syntax that you need to remember over this. So the function consists of the word function, then the function name that you decide, you provide, and then based on the purpose of the function, then parentheses and the curly braces. And curly braces usually used in JavaScript for everything, for if else, for functions. It means a block of information. So everything is between these two curly braces is what function does actually, right? And then this is how you call the function in order to run whatever you wrote here, right? In my case, if I remove this, nothing will run because this is just a template. In order actually to use this, I have to actually use the function name and then parentheses. Oh, run, not run. Sum. Yeah, 11. Okay, so this is how it works. So what this function actually does, it declares two variables. Then it declares a third variable, which is the sum of the previous two. And then this function does a console log. So this is actually the purpose of this function. Do the calculations and print something to the console, right? So this is the purpose of this function. But usually functions, they have return. So functions return something. They never like do something and print to the console because console is used by just developers. They never used by applications. So function has to do something and then return the value in its place. So this is how usually function works. So what that means? So if you have a function, let's have the same function, but instead, so now this function will really summarize something, but instead printing something, this function will return. So you put return and return, for example, a plus b, because this is function sum, return a plus b. So what return means? In the code, instead of the place where you run the function, this what you have in return will appear. So for example, you have 5 and 6. So what will appear over here if a plus b works?
11.
11, correct. You can imagine that 11 will be here, and whatever you have in return will appear in the place when you run the function over here. It will 11 will appear over here. So this is how return works. You get that value in place when you run the function. How it's used usually? Usually, you create some variable. You have some variable that you are looking for the result of that function. Sum equals to no, I cannot use sum because this is the same value. So let's say let result equals to, and then I run function sum. So this is how the world, like real world scenario. Usually you have some variable and then you have a bunch of functions. One function sum, the second function, let's say multiply, and this guy will a plus b, and then you have a multiplied by b, right? And you can have division, let's say, or subtract, let's say subtract a minus b, right? And then blah 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 and everything else. And then just in order to see, I'm somehow using this result. Maybe I'm using it to display it on the website. But in order to check my work, usually when you actively develop, only then you use console log. Console log is not used in the application, in the real application, because you don't need to console anything. You just console it for yourself to make sure that you're getting what you're expecting, right? Otherwise, you just remove console log, and what you get in production, you just use this variable to display it on the website, right? For example, this won't work in here in JSBin, but how it works in real world, you have React, and in React you can use such syntaxes, div, and you can actually put curly braces and put the result variable from your code in there. So actually you will get div, and this result, whatever you have in result, will be displayed on the website. So for example, you would like to display something on the website. So this will be displayed on the website in some div or in some span or whatever you create, right? So this is how it works, but you can use variables In React, in front-end development, you just have a bunch of JavaScript code, and then below you have HTML part. So you generate HTML, but you can insert any variables that you want, right? And any logic using JavaScript that you want. And this is how it usually works. So you have result, and you just import, instead of like providing actual value that you manually type, you put a variable over here, and every time it will be changing, depends on the result of that function, right? So this is how it works. But in order to check my work, I will just put result over here just to print it. So what happens right now? Right now I have 3 functions, but I don't run these ones. I just run one, which is sum. So sum, if it works, what should happen? Who can help me?
You should get 11.
Yeah, so it should be 11 over here. Remember, 11, a plus b will be 11. Whatever is in return will appear instead of place where I run the function. In place that are around the function, return actually means returns. What function returns? So function runs over here and returns in its place whatever is in return, which is 11. So result will get 11, and what will be printed?
11.
11. So let's try that. Let's actually put everything back. So again, we have let A, let B, which is 5 and 6. A plus B will be 11. So return will have 11. This is what we expect. Then we run this function, and 11 should appear here. It should be assigned to result, and we will print the result. Let's see, 11. This is how it works exactly. So let me just draw a little bit for better understanding. Again, so 5 goes to A, 6 goes to B. So the sum will be 11. And whatever we have in this return will appear in the place of the function in here where you run it, right? It will replace this function run. So 11 will appear over here. It will be assigned. So you can imagine that you have let result equal to 11, same thing. So 11 will go here, and then you print it, and you get that's how you get 11 over here. So it's actually step by step. If you read it step by step, it will be very simple for you. Okay, so before I'm going to the next step, does anybody understand, or somebody needs additional explanation? Just do not hesitate to tell me. I will explain again. That's not a problem. Battery's dying. Okay, then we'll think that you understood everything. But again, guys, this is the main thing that we expect from the students during the course. If you have questions, if you don't have full understanding, you just let me know, and I will explain you that one more time. I have an experience explaining 7 times the same thing per lesson, so that's absolutely okay for me. And the only goal that we have that you get full understanding how it works. I will.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So can you explain what the reason we return this in another example, for example, like, can you explain it?
Yeah, so
like in real life or for other example.
Yeah, so this is how most of the functions work. So functions, they usually return something, because when you will be doing a lot of, so for example, your goal of your function, usually the goal of the function is accept something and return something. This is how function works. You like a magic box. So you can imagine the function as a magic box. We didn't get to the parameters and arguments, but once we get to them, let's maybe get to them, and then you will get better understanding how they work in the real world, because right now this is not the real world scenario yet. We will get to it. What you need to understand for now, this is the syntaxes of the function. This is the syntaxes. So you need to understand this, how to create a function from scratch and name it. Then you need to understand that function works only, this is the template, and it works only when you call it by using its name and parentheses. This is the second thing that you need to remember. The third thing you need to remember, whatever will be in return will appear in the place when you run the function. This is the third thing you need to understand for now. And that's it. If you understand those three things, you're good to go for now, because I will explain more.
Okay, and the return is always at the third line or the fourth line. So it goes function let variable a equal this, let variable b equal this, and then it's always a return, correct? Or you can write something else instead of return.
Return is the last line.
Okay, return is the last line, and it's always for function. It's always return at the very last line. There's no other thing you can write instead of return.
No, return is what function. So actually, you can have a function that doesn't return anything, as we could, for example, in the previous cases. Remember, there was a function that was just printing something, right?
Okay. Yeah.
It was not returning anything. It was just printing. So you may have such function, but in the rare cases, right? When you need function to do something, but not return anything. So there may be some function, but it really depends on your goal. When you have a goal to create a function that will accept something, like imagine it a box. For example, you have a box, black box. You don't know how it works, but you throw your first name and last name inside, and it returns you your first name, space, and last name, right? So function gets some data and returns some data. So this is how usually functions work. But they may be some functions without return. So that's okay, but it's up to you when you need to create a function, because it will be up to you. Maybe you don't understand that for now because you didn't have a real case. I didn't give you like a real world scenario. Hey, create me a function that will return something. You will have such a homework probably. I will give you probably some homework for return function and no return function. But no return function is just like make a function to do something, but without returning anything. When you run a function, it does something. For example, in our case, as you remember, function was calculating the result and just doing console log and nothing else. That function didn't have a return. So let me do that again. Let res equal to a plus b, and then console log res, right? So if I remove this function, so I can call it print sum. This is the purpose of this function. It should print sum of the a plus b, right? So this is the purpose of this function, and this function doesn't return anything. The purpose of this function: calculate the result and print it, and that's it. So this is if you have that case in your work to do something without returning, it may be the case. If you have the data in your file, but you need to somehow change it without returning anything. So that may be the case, and you will create a function that will do something, but it won't have return. But in most of the cases, for example, especially if you have function like this sum, it usually does calculations and returns something. And that return will put the value that it has in return in here, in the place where we call the function. So actually return means something that function returns in its place over here, 11, right, in our case. So this is what you need to remember. The syntaxes of the function that you need to run this is the template, and in order to run it, you need to use the name and the parentheses. And the third thing, that whatever you have in return will appear here. And before return, you may have thousands of lines. So the function can be any size, but the main thing here, that return is always the last line, and you have some result in there, and this is what function will return, and it will appear in its place over here. Did you get that, guys?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, this is the main thing. You can, again, let me know if you don't understand that. I will repeat again, but this is how it works. And you will be able to watch the video again and think about it one more time. But this is the 3 things that you need to understand by this time. So, okay. So again, then I can have, for example, any other function. I can have multiply. I will copy the name, multiply. So what I expect here now in console log?
30.
30, you say 30. Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
30.
30. Okay, let me maybe call somebody. Alex Kurasov.
Uh,
Can you tell me how it works? For example, okay, so I have result. I call multiply. What happens? Which function will run?
so function multiply return will appear.
So don't hurry up. So what I need you to understand, you need to go step by step and read line by line. So first of all, you need to understand, so templates will not work. So JavaScript, how JavaScript works, it goes line by line. It says, okay, there is a template. There is a template, just skip it. There is a template, just skip it. So JavaScript will be skipping these templates until it actually gets to this variable. It says, okay, there is a variable result. Okay, then it's equal to, oh, it's not value, it's a function, multiply. So where is the function multiply? It goes and looks for that function like this. Okay, where's the function? Oh, it's here. Now only then JavaScript runs this, because if I do this, let me just remove this. If I do this, if I remove this, right, remove this, I run, nothing happens. Again, just to remind you, templates don't work. Only when you call the function, then it works. So JavaScript skips these guys, gets to the variable, and then creates variable like box. Remember that box with the name result. Then it tries to put something inside, because we say equal, then it means put something inside. But then once JavaScript comes to this place, it says, oh, there is no value. It calls a function. So JavaScript reads the name and looks for the template with this name and goes to here, if there is a such name. If there is no such name, it will error out, showing that there is no such function. It's not defined. It will say it's not defined. We can simulate that case, actually. Let me do that. For example, multiply like this. There is no such function. JavaScript will say is not defined, because there is, it will try to find such thing, but there is no such thing. So it will fail. If there is a match, it will actually go here, find this template, and then run it. It will go line by line. So it will create a variable let a with value 5. Then it will create a second variable with value 6. Then it will calculate the result first. A multiplied by b, it will be how much?
30.
30. So 30 will appear. So since this is return again, remind you, it will replace the function call. So this place will be replaced by 30. Only then when we get final value, JavaScript will put it into the result, and then we print result. So what should be printed over here?
30.
30.
Absolutely correct. Is now everything more clear?
Yeah, how they work is clear. The only little confusion I have is the difference between return and the other one, the one that just gives the value. Doesn't return, but gives the value. Since both of them equal 11, let's say for some, the return will equal 11 and the other one will also equal 11. But like,
What do you mean by the other one?
I forgot the name for it. It's not return. It's the other thing you put in the last line.
No. I was just using console log, but I didn't. There is no actually. So return has a specific.
Okay, so the last line is always return. There's no other thing you can put in there, correct?
Again, if you need to return something in this place, right? Then you use return, because it's up to you as a developer. If your goal, if you create a code in the way that you need this value over here because you assign this value into a variable, then you need to use return. If you just run the function that has specific purpose, for example, you need to print something, right? Print something. Then you create function print, you do something there. At the end, you just print something using a console log, right? Or something like that. And then you call function like this, hey, print, right? So that function will run, calculate something, and just print something, but it will not return anything. You are not using this value into any variable. But if you think, okay, I need this this value to display on the website later, to use it in my code. Then you create a variable that you will use. Then you assign a function to it as a value. And then you think, okay, I need a return because I need to get a value over here. And then you create a return. So actually, whether a function has a return or not, it's up to developer, it's up to you. You just need to understand. So what return does, it puts the value, whatever it has in, instead of the function call. That's it. This is how it works. And it's not like something predefined. It's something like, hey, if a developer needs a return, developer puts a return. If a developer needs a function to print something, do something without returning anything, developer will create a function without a return. Your goal for today is to understand function is everything between those curly braces. Either it does something without returning anything, or you have a return and it will return something in its place. Then you will assign it to a variable and use that variable somehow in the code, probably. In our case, we just print it just to see that it works, but it will be definitely used in the code, in the HTML. For example, let's say you log into the website and you see your name, like, hello, Alex, right? So that Alex comes from the variable. So there is a function that gets your name from the database, then assign it to the variable, and then that variable is used in the code. So this is how it works. So you have a function, get a name from the database, right? And that function says, send the request, get a response, take a name, and then return name, return first name. So you say first name equal to return the first name function that makes a call, and then that function first name, variable first name, not just printed to the console. It actually used, as I demonstrated, in something like the div. Usually the code will look like this: hello, hello, and then like this. This is, you don't need to know the syntaxes because you don't learn that right now, but it will be something like the first, or result in our case, result, right? And if in result you have your first name, it will be on the website, it will be displayed like hello, and this part will be replaced by your result, which is your first name. It will be hello Alex, for example, or hello Arthur, or hello Vlad, or whatever, right? So actually this is how it works. But that function that you will create to get your first name from the database, you will create a function that will be called get a first name. It will have a complex logic, how you send a request to the server, how you get a response, but at the end you will have a return, and in here you will be putting your first name. And then
okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I understand how it works, but the last line will always be returned in the function.
Yeah, because nothing works after the return. If you put some code after the return, it won't work.
So remember how you put instead of return, you put something else, and then you put console log below it. That won't work in regular functions.
It will work. Again, remember, I may not have return. I may have let result. It's not something. It's a variable.
Okay.
Res, and I will calculate a plus b into this result variable.
Okay,
and I will just log res. And this function doesn't have a return at all.
Okay, so okay, so this, what's the difference? Since you run this, you put you get the function from this is going to be 11, correct?
It will be nothing.
It will be nothing.
Yeah, it will be nothing because this is the value I get here. This is the value I get here. And this is the value printed over here.
Okay, that was my main confusion. I was just wondering what was the reason between res and what was return, the main difference between those two.
Res is nothing. I created it. I can call it Alex.
Okay.
Whatever. It's not something predefined. Return is predefined. Return is the something that puts the value that it has inside of the function. What function returns inside of itself in this place, right? So this is how return works. If you don't have a return, this place will be empty, which is undefined, and that's why I get undefined in the result, and that's why I print undefined, because my function sum doesn't have a return. So my function actually does something. It prints Alex. It prints, but this function, since what is the purpose of this function currently? Just to have
Alex equals 11, I think.
No, it's not the purpose of the function. Purpose of
Okay.
the function. What is the purpose of this function? To have two values, to summarize them, and to print the result, and that's it. So probably this function will be called like something like print sum. This makes sense because this function, what it does actually, it just calculates something and prints it without returning anything, correct?
Yeah.
This is the purpose of this function currently. But if my purpose of my function to actually return something, then I will say, I don't have to print anything. I will have to just say return. And then this function actually will return something.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That makes sense. That was my biggest confusion, and that's the only thing I didn't understand. You explained that well.
Okay, got it. And I see that Alex, you have a question.
Yes. So, so the main purpose in using return. So, for example, if we like create something, work with some code, we create some functions, different functions, and we use return to pull some information in the future, right?
Yeah, so return is what will be in this place when you run the function. So this is what this function will be replaced by when you call it. And let me give you another example right now so you will get better understanding how it works. So now what I would like to explain you is the parameters and oh man, forgot that word. Parameters and and arguments. Okay, so parameters are, so you never write like this because actually what's the point of summarizing of the same numbers all the times? There is no point. So let me actually create a division as well. Function division. And then, yeah, this is correct. So so actually functions are never created like that. This is just created by me, just an example, because there is no point of like just having the same values, because when I run sum, it never summarizes 1000 plus 1000 or any other values I want to summarize. It always summarizes 5 plus 6, which is bad. So actually function should be able to accept any values and give me any result that I want, right? So for that purpose, I don't have to declare variables over here. Function has a parameters. So parameters are defined here between parentheses and separated by comma. In this case, I create a function that will summarize two values. So for two values, I need to create two variables. In our case, I have a plus b, a and b. So I will do this a and b. So this is how usual function looks like. So this function will accept two different numbers and then will return their sum, a plus b. Multiply will also accept two values, a and b. Again, the parameters are just separated by comma, and there can be many parameters. If my goal to create function that will accept 3 parameters, I will put another one, add c or whatever. And the names are up to you again. So those are our variables. You can imagine them as variables. So you don't have to, you define the names. I define them as a plus b because they're just 2. But if they make sense, and which will be later, so you can rename them to anything else. But the only thing that you need to remember, if you use let a, like here, let a and let b, so you can use them, you have to use them in the next line, right? So you would like to return a minus b, so that's what you need to return. You need to use a plus b. So if you name your parameters a and b, you have to use them inside the function as well. So what are parameters? Again, this is what function will accept. Remember, I explained you a function like a box that you throw something in, and it throws you something out. So parameters is something that you throw in, right? What function will accept. In this case, two variables, A and B. You can imagine them as a variables. Like I said, that there are two variables, A and B, and we will do something with them. So actually, let me replace these guys with A and B as well, A and B. And then let me replace these guys with A and B as well, A and B. So now, how to actually define these variables? I define them when I run the function. So actually now my function is universal. I can run it with any variables. So if I have A and B, so my function should accept two parameters. So they called parameters when you create a template, but they called arguments over here, parameters and arguments. So parameters are in the template, and arguments is what you actually use in the function. So in this case, you define 5 and 6. So how it works? Very simple. Actually, what happens? So now my function is not predefined. My function is universal. I can actually summarize any two values that I want. So 5 will go into A, and 6 will go into B. And then I will return A plus B, which will be what?
11.
11. So now I will return 11. And if I replace, I can use this function as many times as I want.
Multifunctional, right? You just change parameters when you define it.
Yeah, but again, remember, parameters are in the template. So these guys are parameters.
Arguments.
Yeah, but you don't believe me. I just learned that finally this year, like maybe a few months ago. Before that, I was mixing them. So it's okay not to remember how they exactly called, but if you remember, that will be awesome. But with all my experience, I just finally learned that this year, what is the difference between parameters and argument, because that doesn't affect your understanding how it works, the naming itself, right? But just knowing it is, of course, better. Okay, so let me clear everything. Now, for example, I may this function as many times as you want. I may have result1, I may have let result 2, and here will be some 534, right? And I will print result 1, and I will print result 2. Okay. So what will be, let me do something else, 11. So what I'm expecting in this case to see?
16.
16 in this case?
1534.
Yeah, so let me run it. Absolutely correct. So this is actually this is real case scenario. So this is how function usually works. So you actually create some parameters, and it depends on you, right? If you would like to just summarize or multiply or subtract two numbers, then you create this function that will accept two numbers, and then will return A plus B, right? Or A multiplied by B, or subtract. And then you use this function as many times as you want, because it will be universal. It will accept two values. And if you need to summarize, you do summarize. If you need to do multiply, for example, like this, in this case, we expect 55, right? Because it's multiply 5 by 11. Again, one more thing that I need to remind you, 5 goes to A, multiply, and 11 goes to B in the same order. If 5 goes first, it will go to A, 11 goes second, it will to B. And it will be A goes here. So it will be A, and B goes here, because it's AB, and then 5 multiplied by 11, it will be 55. So return will replace this entire thing by 55. So 55 goes to result 1, and this is what we're exactly printing.
And basically the point of these types of functions is basically copy and paste, and then you make up your own result. So for less typing, correct?
Yeah, you create function once and reuse it many times. So function has a specific purpose, right? So once you need a code that does something specific, as I, for example, explained you need to create a code that will get a username from the database and then display it on the website, you need to create a specific function for that. And then you use that function whenever you need. If you need that function on this page, you use it. You need that function on another page, you use it. And whenever you use that function, it will display your name in some specific place that you use it. So this is how function usually created for. Functions created for specific purpose. When you have some specific thing to do, you create a function for that, call it accordingly, and then you have a code that can be reused. So the main purpose of the function is just reusability. So you reuse it, it's universal. As you can see, I don't have to type multiple times how to multiply something. I just use function multiply and use different values, right? So let's create that case that I just described for the index calculation. So let's create function generate index and some specific index, right? I don't know the index about, let's say that some scientists, I don't know, they created an application and where you provide your age. And this is what I meant. So in parameters, you name them as you want, as variables. You create let age, let weight, let height, right? You create those variables. So parameters are the same. You just don't use word let. You just create empty variables. You call them age, let's say weight and height, right? So my function generate index will accept 3 arguments. So I create 3 parameters in my template. And then let's say scientists said that index will be calculated. So let's say let index equal to, I don't know. I can even type return right away, or let's have let index equal to, let's say it should be age multiplied by weight and then divided by height and then multiplied by some specific number that I don't know, that they just calculated based on something like 0.0674. I don't know, specific index that they have to calculate this, and then I need to return this index. So actually, I can do these calculations in the return already, but usually there are a lot of lines of code and you just put the last result in return. If there are many lines of code, if there's just simple calculations as this, you can just put them, actually get rid of index variable and just put them directly here. It will be the same, right? Because it will calculate everything and that will be returned, right? Or you can do it in 2 steps. You can create a variable index, calculate that index, put it into variable, and then return it. But it will be the same, just in 2 steps, right? So we will multiply age by weight, then divide by height, and multiply by strange index, right? And let's have, so this function will be actually universal because Arthur's result. So Arthur's result will be the following. So I don't know, age 33, weight, I don't know in pounds, but let's say 150, and height, I don't know, let's do in centimeters, like this, right? So this will be my index. And let me do this. What kind of index do I get? Okay, so this is my index, right? Then let Alex's result equal to, and again use the same function, generate index, but Alex has different values, like maybe 28, weight is less and the height is better, like more like this, right? So let me calculate, let me console log Alex's result as well, right? So this function is able to take any values inside 18, you need to just remember that the first should be age, the second one should be weight, and the third one should be your height, because this is how you create the template. So you created a template, and you need to run this function accordingly to the template, right? So you need to put the age first, then the weight second, then the height, the third one. And then same for other runs when you use this function. But this function is universal. It will be used as many times as you want. And it will generate index for as many users as you want based on their data. But it will generate different index for them. This is how, this is really real world scenario. And what you need to understand by this time. So this is the syntaxes. You need to say function, generate index. Inside parentheses, you provide parameters, and it depends on what you create. In my case, I just had requirements from my scientists, from my team, to create a function that will take 3 parameters and based on them generate index, right? Based on these calculations. So those are my requirements. That's why I created the function that accepts these 3 parameters, age, weight, and height. So I use them inside because the calculations should be age multiplied by weight, divided by height, and multiplied by that strange index that calculated by scientists, right? And based on that, I generated the index, which is this guy and this guy, and then I returned it. So when I run this for myself, I put 33 in age, 150 in weight, and 173 in height. And based on that, my index will be this, 19.3. For the Alex, the numbers are different. The age will be different, the weight and the height will be different. So in Alex's case, the index will be 8.7, right? Or almost 8.8, right? So this is how you use the function universally. And this is the real world scenario how functions are created. You create universal function that can take some data and return something. And now you can imagine function that here's the function. You throw something inside, it returns the index, right? Because function has to return something. And this is how it works. This is how real function works. We can actually, yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you, what if you change the on a second line let index to return index? If it's gonna be work or not?
Yeah, why did you create it variable let index inside this function?
Yeah, because I just generated the, as I explained already, I generated this scenario when I have multiple lines of code and then I return something, right? This can be the case. But yes, you can, in this case, you're right, absolutely. You can directly return these calculations and that's it. It will also work and the numbers will be the same. But if you have longer code, you have a lot of calculations before, right? You have, let's say you may have let age, weight, index, and you can do this age and weight multiplied together. Then you have let height index equal to age index divided by height. Then you do this, and then let final index, because there may be, so this is very simple function, but you may have a long function. And I am just trying to simulate the case when you have a long function, and the only purpose will be, so then you have height index, and you need to multiply it by this guy. Okay. And then once you have a final index, right? This is the final thing that you're looking for. Then you return, right? So this is, and function may have thousands of lines of code. And then at the end you have a result, and then you need to return that result. So this is just the case, this example of that case, right? But yes, if you can put everything in one line, absolutely go and do that. It's absolutely up to you. Code is flexible. It's absolutely up to how you put it, right? It's not something predefined. If you would like to make it more clear and have more lines, but clear, like, okay, I'm calculating the age weight index first. and then I divide that by height, and only then I multiply that by that strange index calculated by scientists. You would like to do that more clear step by step, you can do this. Or you have a possibility to put it in one line, as in this case, it is possible. You just do this. You can put these three things, then you do multiply, then you divide, right? Then you divide and then you multiply. So this will work actually. So you can get rid of these guys, because in this case, it's a pretty short line and it's possible. But sometimes you can even put everything in one line, but it will be super long. So you say, okay, I don't have to scroll to the side and see my result, right? So you break it down to different lines. You calculate something first, then you create another variable and calculate the next step and calculate the next step. So you can either break down these two steps, or you can put it in one line. So it's absolutely up to you how you do that. There is no restrictions on this. I will just doing that in different ways. So you can see that you can do that as you want. So this is how it works.
Quick question. It doesn't matter how big the line is. You can have the line however big you want, correct?
Yeah. It's just matter of usability, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and this is the real world scenario. Actually, we can actually say something like, again, let's say function generate full name. Again, as you can see, I'm using the camel case. The first, if you're using a few words in a variable name or a function name, you use camel case, right? First starts with lowercase, then the second word starts with uppercase. Every next word starts with uppercase. So you can visually easily see the next word and read it easily, right? You don't have to look precisely when the next word starts. You can easily see it by just seeing the uppercase letter. So generate the full name. And let's say this function will accept two variables, first name, and again, I name it as I want. First name, and the only restriction here, I have to use the same values inside the function, and the last name. And then return first name plus space plus last name. Because usually in the database, these guys saved, but they saved exactly as their length, right? So if I have Arthur, it will be saved as Arthur without additional spaces, right? And same with last name. So in order to display my first name, full name with a space between, I have to have some specific function for that. For example, that will be adding space, right? And this function, let's say I will create a variable let Arthur's full name equal to generate this guy.
You missed S in there. First name, you missed S in that function.
First name, first name, and yeah, got it. Thank you. And here I need to replace by specific values. Arthur and my last name Senko. Yeah. So okay, so I generate those indexes. Let me just print this Arthur's full name. Arthur full name. Let me print it. Yeah. So actually, I'm getting from the database my first name and last name, but I'm getting them like separate values. So I have a function that will take those two strings. Arthur will go first name, Senko will go to the last name, and my function in this place, everything here will be replaced by first name plus space, as you can see here, by last name. So all of this will be replaced by this, like this, will be replaced by this, and then it will go to full name and it will be printed. And now I have several functions, and I may have something like, something like this. So I will print something, user number one, like this, space. Then, so what I'm trying to actually print, I'm trying to print something. So what are my requirements? It will be, I would like to print something like user number one, Senko, and then comma, and then index is space and then index, right? And then index, oh, I need to say like this, something like this, value. So this is my expected result. And then here, I would like to use the index itself. So these guys should be replaced. So here should be my full name, and probably need to some full name, and here should be the index. So this is what I'm trying to print. This is my goal. So I'm thinking I need to print this plus space first, this plus space first. Then I need to concatenate that by the full name, which is Arthur's full name, then plus this string, comma and index and space, like this, and then the index, Arthur's result over here, Arthur's and plus Arthur's result. So in this case, what I'm expecting to see, user number one, Arthur Senko, and index, this is my index, and this is what I'm expecting. Let's create the same for the second user. So let's say there is a second user, not Arthur's full name, but Alex's full name. Alex Good. So the second user is Alex Good, and this is the Alex's index. So I'm doing the same, actually. I will copy and paste, but I will just replace Arthur's full name, but Alex's full name. And Arthur's result, but Alex's result. Like this. So what I'm printing a string where I have user number one. This is just a string plus space. After space, I would like to have my name. So I have my name, then I have comma, then space, then I have index, colon, then space. This is what exactly I have. And then after that, I have that index with index, and that's what I have the index. So now I run these two, and oh, number two, and that's it. So Arthur, so this is how usually functions. So you don't have to again focus on this right now. How I created those two strings. I hope you understand from the previous lesson, but if not, it's okay, because our main purpose today was to understand how functions, return, and arguments and parameters work. So this is how it works. So what you need to remember today is a function created by using a function name, a function word, then a function name, then parentheses. Inside parentheses, you list, separated by comma, parameters. And parameters, how many parameters are there? Their names. They are defined by the purpose of the function and your requirements. If your requirements to calculate some weird index based on 3 parameters that you throw in the function, like this, then you create 3 parameters and call them up accordingly. You can call them A, B, C, or you can call them better if you have some specific values that you would like to assign. For example, in this case, we would like to assign, we would like to calculate age, weight, and height. That's why we call them accordingly. So we exactly know that what we are calculating. And then we just return. How return works? It just returns whatever you have here instead of this function that when you run it. This is how returns work. So, and these values are getting assigned when you call the function. So 33 will go to this, 150 will go to this, 173 will go to this. And the function will be dynamic, will be universal. You can use this function for other people to generate that index for many people, because you will be every time throwing different values into the function. And any function can be created that. This is the power of code, because you can name the function as you want. You can create a function for any purpose, and you create as many parameters as you want, and you can do as many calculations as you want, and you just return whatever is the result of that calculations. And then you put the everything what will be in return will appear inside of the function. And then you just assign it to any variable, and again you call it as you want, and then you use it as you want. In my case, let's say instead of console log, this is what I will put in the HTML, right? I will actually put this into HTML, and I will see this on my phone. Let's say, hey Arthur, your index is this. So I will see that text. Hey Arthur Senko, your index is this. So I actually will have that text, but that text will be built something like this. It will be a string concatenated with the variable, then concatenated with the other string, and then again with the index with another variable. And then at the end, I will get this full string, and I will display that in my application. And this is how function works. And I can have a function that generates full name. I can have a function that does something else. I can have a function actually that I put let's say, let's create another function allow or not. And this is the function from your homework, from the previous homework. So actually allow or not, this function will say 21, age, will accept age. And inside we'll have statement if age more or equal than 21, then return allowed, else return not allowed. I mean about alcohol, allowed, right? In this case, return not allowed. So this is example of the function that you will wrap your if else statement around, and you will just be using the different age every time. Remember, we were using variable. So this is actually the case how you use that without variable, and this is how it usually used. You have a function that will actually answer the question yes or no. And in those terminals in the stores, in the grocery stores, usually there is some function on the backend. In that terminal, there is a code and there is a such function. And when person adds in, and this function probably will be even more difficult, because there will be, actually it will accept date, birth date. So we can say BD, birth date. And it will be some calculations first to generate the age. For example, age will be, there will be some function to generate today's date. There will be some function to generate today's date. It will be minus birth date, right? And this function will generate age, and then you will try to see that age is 21. So there will be more calculations before that, because usually that function accepts not the age, but people are entering, usually those cashiers, they are entering your actually date of birth. So it actually will accept birth. Then it will subtract your birth date from today's date, will calculate the age. It will be more complex. It will be multi-line function that will be calculating the days, then transform days into years. And then if there are more than 21 years passed, it will generate age, and then you will get age, and then you will check, hey, if age is more than equal than 21, then allow, else not allowed, and so on. So this is actually how that function will be working in the real world. But let's say we just have age right away, right? So we have age, and I can use this function just to say, for example, here, let result equal this function, allow or not. And result of this function will be, let's say, for 20 years. console log. The alcohol is plus result. Either will be is allowed, not allowed for this person. So what I'm expecting is to see the alcohol is either allowed or not allowed. And then for this person, as you can see, I add spaces because this word won't have spaces, right? So this alcohol is not allowed for this person. If I put 21, what I expect?
Allowed.
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 Yeah, so 21 will go here to age. So age will be equal to 21 now. And then I check 21 more than equal than 21. The answer is yes. 21 is more as equal to 21. So the answer is yes. So I return allowed, yes. On it, the alcohol is allowed for this person. So this is actually the real case scenarios how these functions are used. Usually the functions, all the functions, they have parameters. You always run this function with arguments, with exact values that you put into these variables. And then you calculate some result based on this number. So this is actually real world scenario, how this function works in real world, right? So you just have a function that actually do calculations for you. The function, does calculations for you. And you just use it for every new person. So this person, you just sell the alcohol. There's a new person and that person age is 18. And you just enter date of birth and your system prints the alcohol is not allowed for this person. And this is how actually your computer works. You don't see this, but this is actually the code that drives your computer and what happens on that storefront terminal when people are adding your date of birth in the terminal and the system based on your date of birth calculates if the alcohol is allowed for you or not, for example, right? Or the same with cigars and so on. Vadim, I see that you're raising a hand. Any questions?
Yeah, I had a question. If you could go back to when we had 3 arguments. You have age, weight, and height. Do they always have to match? Like at the bottom, you have, let's say, Arthur's result. You have 33, 150, and 173. So you have 3 variables there, and then you have 3 in the function. Do they always have to match, or can it be 3 variables in one and 5 in the other, for example?
It should be actually, ideally they have to match because this is how you create a function, right? So actually you create a function for a specific purpose, right? And your function also has requirements. So my function, I created my function. My function accepts 3 parameters. So you need to run it with 3 arguments. They have to match because this is the requirement. However, you may create a function that may accept 1, 2, or 3, but you need to have a statement. Hey, if age is defined, but weight and height is not defined, maybe you have some specific case. Because if you leave this empty, what will go into height? It will be undefined. So your calculations will be broken. Height will be undefined. So if you have specific case when height may not be defined, I don't know, maybe there are some cases, then you will create some if-else statement. If height, so you predict this case, maybe there is possible case, and you say if height is undefined, then return something else, maybe return some other calculations with predefined height, maybe some median height in the United States, I don't know, 175, right? Else if it's defined, in that case you use it for calculations. So you use actually you return whatever is height it has. So this is the case when function potentially cannot have height and it will be undefined, because whenever you don't have something, if you remember from the first lesson, it's undefined. If something is missing in JavaScript, it's undefined. If there is a case, because again, it comes from the requirements. It will be as a business analyst will mention that in the requirements. So we need to create a functionality that accepts age, weight, and height may be skipped by a user. So I don't know if there is a real case like that or not, but let's say business analyst has that requirement, says height may be skipped. So user may skip it. So in that case, we need to use like median value for the United States, 175 centimeters, right? Something like that. So if there is such requirement, yes, you will create a function that will accept 3 arguments, 3 parameters in this case, and you will create if else. In case if height is undefined, you will use median. If case else, otherwise, if it's defined, then you will use it for calculations. So this is the real case, but usually when you create, for example, function multiply with 2 numbers, which is a and b, there has to be 2 numbers, right? A and b in order to do the calculations. There cannot be like a single number. So usually they have to match, but sometimes, yes, functions may have optional arguments, but again, it's described. It's described in the requirements. If business analyst will describe the situation that something may be optional, then you will have to create something like this. But again, it's not today's topic. Your topic today is just to understand how the function work, but not just to think what can be further, because it's again, it's just a single lesson. This thing and things like that, this is just basics, and they can be learned in 3 months. But again, to learn the real application creation, which is front-end development, you need to spend 6 months. So imagine the real cases that you learn and you build the application, you join the project and build the real application, the real platform, that takes for you 6 months to understand everything. So you may understand something today, but I highly recommend you not to focus on some specifics, but just focus on how it works. Hide 170. And this is like this is what, okay, so again, what you need to understand today. Let me just summarize everything. I will summarize and then send you that description. So this is actually what I'm doing here. This is the comment in JavaScript. This line will be ignored. I can print anything. If I put 2 slashes at the beginning of this line, it will be ignored by JavaScript, and it's used for comments. When developer uses a comment like this, all 3 parameters are mandatory. Yeah, so if developer needs to leave a message to other developers, so they know how to use this function, they may leave something like that. So everything after 2 slashes will be ignored by JavaScript and used just for comments or some descriptions or something like that. So that's why I use it here. So let's say I will say, first of all, function syntax. This is what you need to understand. So word function, name, and then curly braces. This is how function created. Then the next thing that you need to understand, that was the template. That doesn't work. That does not work by default. It will not run. You have to call the function, and it will be called by name and like this. This is how it's called. Only then the function will work. Then the third thing that you need to remember, return replaces the function call by the value that it returns. returns. For example, you have function name, return hello something, and when you call this name, replace it by hello once ran. Okay, so so then when you print, when you do let as equal to name, res will be equal to hello. Okay, this is how it works, right? So display will be just replaced by hello, right? So that's why res will have I can put this in one line probably, replaced by hello once ran. So res will be equal to hello. Yeah, this is what you need to understand. And then two more things. To make function universal, you need to use parameters, right? And then let's use, for example, this name, function name, first last name, and return first plus space plus last, right? So this function will actually, you need to use parameters. This is the second thing that you need to understand. Fourth thing you need to understand, that the last thing that you need to understand, when you call it, you actually define the values of these two guys. When you call such function, you assign values to those parameters, and then you just call it name, full name equal to name first and last, right? First will be again Alex, and last good, for example, right? And same with multiply and etc. etc. So those are things that you need to remember. I will summarize everything into the chat, so you have this code and you have the something to refer to. And this is just the 5 things that you need to understand today, and that's it. So this is the syntaxes, how to create a function. So you need to remember that it's always function word, then the name of the function, then parentheses and curly braces. Everything the function does is between the curly braces. So to call it, because this is the template, to call that function, to actually make it work, you need to call this name function, its name and parentheses. Then return replaces the function called. So whenever you call the function, whatever you have in return will replace this function over here. And that value will appear over here. In this case, just string hello. So hello will appear over here, and it will go to res variable. And then you can do something with it. So, and this is how you actually use the function in real. So you have everything that we just described above, but you have 2 parameters, and you may have as many as you want. You have first and last, for example, and this function will be used to merge first name into last name into one string and have space between them. Very simple function. Yes, and it has specific purpose. So it will accept first name and last name. And it will return merge, which is first name plus space plus last name. And that will be replaced over here. And actually you define that function, the values of the first last name when you run the function. So actually when you run, you can run this function for any mix of first and last name. So you can actually run it for me, you run it for another user, Because why such function exists? Because usually your first name and last name, they saved in database in separate cells. So separately, right? So you have a separate first name as a string, last name as a string. But whenever system needs to display your first name and last name in a one string, there should be a simple function like this that will merge them together. So whenever you need to use this function in any place where you would like to display your first name and last name together as a full name in any application on your phone, on the website, you use such function and you just put first name and last name over here, and that function will return your last name as like a full your full name as a single string, and you can display it on the website. So those are few things that you need to just remember to know the functions. Now you know the functions pretty well. Okay, questions?
And then you put console log the name to print out
this guy full name. Console log
full name.
Yeah, console log is just used by you as a developer.
Yeah, so how to display it?
Yeah, to check your work. Yeah, you put console log. If you would like to check it, you put console log name. Yeah, full name, because this is what you're getting as the last result. But in real, how it's used, usually this variable is used in the code in HTML. It's embedded into the HTML. For example, you have a specific place when you display your first name or a full name on the website, right? So you just input that variable into that place, and it will be
like you said.
This is how it works usually. But console log is just used by us when we actively develop. You check whatever you're getting. Then once you're getting what you expect, you just delete the console log and go for further. You code again, check your work, delete the console log. Then you work again. You create a bunch of large files with a complex logic with multiple functions. I can actually show you something. Let me show you some. Maybe I have some Visual Studio Code. I can show you some logic, some examples of the functions. Let me see, open projects, front end, probably front end, just to you see the complex, how big are the functions usually. For example, no header, let me see, admin okay, or here, for example. This is how it usually works. For example, I have a function get time. So this function will get today by using this. This is built-in function into JavaScript. It will return some date, I believe. Then to get a year, I need to use this function. So all of these guys I read from the internet, how to actually get the date, how to get the year. You Google it, you find it on the different resources in the internet, how to actually get this. So I need to get all of this, and then I just create return. So in my return, I use year, then month plus one, then day, hours, minutes, and there is some logic over here as well. You don't have to understand it, but I have this function. And I use it somewhere, I believe. I need to just use search to show you where I use it. Get time. Oh no, I don't see where I use it. This. Get time. No, bad example. I'm not sure. Don't see this function. So what else? What else I can show you? Those are too complex. Ban player, add the comment. Who won? Did I use this? Who won? No. Why is that? It should be over here. Player. Add comment. Let me give you a better example. Add a comment. So as you can see, there are a lot of functions. These guys should be there. This move just killed. So this may be the better one. Okay, process player. Yeah, so actually here it is. Process player. So actually this function, process player, what it does, actually this function's goal is just to generate a specific class name. So my goal is if somebody is killed or alive, so in the application, this is the game application, so there can be killed player or live players. So in order to kill the player, so when you kill the player, that player is killed and not alive anymore, you would like to display it gray, for example, and you create two classes, active player and killed player, and you would like to somehow switch it. So you have in HTML you have static code, right? It's static. You either put killed player or a live player, but by JavaScript, as you remember, JavaScript is muscles that can move the HTML and CSS. So I can actually, as you can see, I create if-else statements. If player is not alive, then I will return gray back. Else, if I do something, there is another statement, then I will return result will be equal to active player. And else, if something else, result will be equal to talked player. And then I return result, one of them, either gray back or active player or tagged player. So one of those values will be displayed, will be returned based on the result I'm getting, based on the player status. So this is, and JavaScript will just process that player. So whatever, I throw some player here, element, as you can see, element is a player. I throw it here, and then I check if status of that player alive, then it will return gray back. If not, something else, it will be active player. If something else, it will be talked player. And I will return something, one of them. So actually it's a simple if-else statement that checks something and returns one of those three guys. And then it returns results. So again, when I run this function with specific player, it will return specific string for me. And then I will use it. Those will be used as a class. As you can see, I use it in a class. In React, it's not a class, it's used a class name, but it will return the HTML with a class attribute. So as you can see, I have many classes over here. One class, second class, third class, and the fourth class will be processed by JavaScript based on what that function returns. So actually I put the player inside, that function works and returns one of those three strings. One of those three strings, either gray back, active player, and talked player. And those are just classes in CSS. So if player is talked, then it will be some specific, has specific color. Is that as an active player? The active player will have specific color. If that player is killed, it will also have a third specific color that distinguishes that player with other player from other players. So actually, those are three classes that have different values in CSS. And JavaScript will just place one of those three strings based on the player status. If that player will be killed, JavaScript will put grade back class, and that will apply CSS that pre-described, right? In that gray back class, I described that, hey, let's have gray background, white text. So you see that that player is killed, right? And so on. So this is how it works in the real scenario. So actually you have big, sometimes very big functions and then just result at the end. Sometimes, as you can see, this function doesn't have result because this function called unmute. So this function will do something, but it doesn't have a goal to return anything. It will just unmute existing player. That player already exists, so it will just do something, like print something, do something, and so on. Some functions return something. And as you can see, this function is pretty small. It will just has one line that we have in return. Some functions just have very big text and do something, right? And so on. So it depends. So those are real examples of the functions and how big they are, right? Some are small, some are big, and usually you have some huge calculations. And then you just return something at the end, right? You just have some calculations and return something at the end. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. But you will get this, all of this, once you learn the front end, and it takes 6 months. So in 6 months, you will be able to understand all of that happens here. But for now, what you need to remember, just those 5 things. Those are like more than enough for today, more than enough. Okay, questions?
Wow.
Yeah, I will give you I will give you pretty simple homework based on what you learned today, and you will have another chance to like just refresh your memory with what you learned today. It will be some function that will accept maybe 1 or 2 parameters, and just based on the parameters that you get, return different results, maybe having if else inside, something like that. And that's it. That will be simple function, or maybe not even without if else, maybe something more simple like generate something based on the numbers that you enter inside, right? Something maybe that like we calculated the index, something like that. So you will have 3 parameters, based on them calculate some index, and then just print it, something like that, nothing special. And yeah, that should be enough for you to just refresh your memory and just finally understand the functions. But again, for today, just only those 5 things. Don't focus on those functions that I just showed you right now. Those are not something that you need to understand. And plus, for automation, functions are good to know because we will be using some functions. But in general, in automation, you will realize that when you install automation framework from scratch, you just need to follow the guide. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to learn anything. You just follow the guide, and then you install the automation framework. Then you learn where to get the functions, predefined functions, methods from, to click the button, to enter the value into the field, and so on. And once you know that, you just simply copy paste, and you will see that automation is super easy. We will do that on Monday. And just those functions and variables, just a prerequisites for the automation that you need to know just to understand the automation better. But it will be a lot of copy pasting and a lot of just looking information in the internet on the website and reading the API that framework provides. And that's it. Very, very simple. And again, right now, the market is very good. But again, even for manual jobs, companies often require automation because they would like to maybe start to use a manual, but to switch to automation later, maybe like in 6 months or 12 months. So usually people put the automation requirements in the job description as well. So right now, automation is pretty required almost everywhere. So I would love you to invest time into that as well. Okay, so I'm done, just waiting for your questions. If not, just will provide you the homework and see you on Monday. So any questions?
Thanks for the lesson.
No problem. I love this group. You guys so amazing, so proactive. You're completing the homework. That means a lot. That means that you, what happens actually? So there are usually people who joined this free course, and then people who didn't join it, who just take the course without taking the free one. But what happens, since the people that join the free course, they know already the variables, they know already functions, they perform so much better than the people just who joined the regular, the main course right away without free course. So this will be investment into your future anyways. So this is very, very good. And thank you for completing the homework. That means that you understood the topic and you can do some tasks already. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, let me show you something, because what you can do starting today is Code Wars, and let me check JavaScript, because when you sign up on Code Wars, you are not able to sign just simply to the Code Wars. You have to solve this problem. So this code doesn't work. What's missing here to make it work? This is the function.
We need to write a return.
You got a call for multiply.
You don't have to call. The system will call it automatically. You don't have to put any console log, but there is, so you just need to have a function over here. This is the only thing required here, but something is definitely missing here.
You're missing the variables. I think return or the variable. Something's wrong with the variable.
return.
Yeah, you're missing return because we have variables and arguments you were talking about, but we don't have both now.
You have parameters, but you were missing return. If you click submit, actually everything passed, and it will give you an ability to register here. And then here you can actually complete different tasks. Once you register, this is the system we use for trainings. We have their API. Oh, am I logged in? Use my GitHub. So okay, I'm here. So actually, we are using this system to actually give tasks to students. And here you can, oh, they changed the practice katas. For example, 8 is the easiest one. And here you can actually have different tasks to solve based on your knowledge, right? And we give students these tasks to solve when they are working on our projects and they learn JavaScript. We use this system. So this system is like a task system. For example, here. So there is a task, and you do the train again. Over here, there is a function. You need to write a function that will return a reminder, right? And there is an explanation what to do over here. And it's actually very simple. So you need to know some specific things in JavaScript, but this is, once you learn it, it will be very easy for you. And we use the system, then you get the points for solving the tasks. And we are connecting our system to their API. So we get the data about your tasks that you solve from their system, and we display it on the dashboard on our system. So we see actually if you solve the task or not, and so on. So actually pretty good system to use. And yeah, so for now, you are already able to register in the system, which is very good. We usually do this after the second, the third lesson on the main course as well with the other people, but you already able to do that. So very good result. Okay, any other questions? Okay, then thank you so much. I will post a homework very soon, and see you on Monday. Was nice to see you all, guys, and see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, I lost my Zoom thing.
Bye.
Bye-bye.